Emily had constantly dreamed of proudly owning a residence. Now not simply any residence, but an area that embodied the entirety she believed in, something that represented difficult work, humility, and staying power. As she walked through the bustling halls of the real estate expo, preserving her camera in a single hand and a notebook within the other, she determined herself drawn to at least one particular sales space. It became a graceful modern-day booth with glowing LED lights, showing a virtual model of an extravagant, tale villa. The villa's exterior changed into a striking coloration of yellow, in contrast to anything she'd visible earlier than. She couldn't assist, however, experience a surge of pleasure as she raised her digicam to take pics. To Emily, this wasn't only a constructing version, it was the manifestation of the whole thing she hoped for in her existence. Comfort, beauty, and a sense of achievement. As she snapped image after photo, she became misplaced in her thoughts. She imagined herself on foot through the front door of this sort of house, the hardwood floors gleaming underneath the daylight, the heady scent of clean paint and polished timber filling the air. She could picture herself sitting on the balcony, looking out over the serene garden, a cup of espresso in her hand, knowing she had earned all of it. However, it wasn't pretty much the house itself. It changed into the future, she predicted, a future where she ought to come up with the money for such a place via her personal efforts, a future wherein her paintings and dedication will be the keys to unlocking her dream. And as she took one closing shot, she conceived to herself, one day, this will be mine. It became then that Sarah, the manager of the real property organization Emily worked for, noticed her from a corner of the expo. Sarah had been Emily's manager for simply beneath 2 years. And for the duration of that time, Emily had demonstrated herself to be a hardworking, humble, and dedicated employee. She had, are available as an intern, and via sheer endurance, she had earned her place inside the employer. She wasn't the kind to boast, and she not often asked for whatever. As an alternative, she focused on getting to know, growing, and helping her crew. Emily, is that you? Sarah referred to as, her voice slicing via the murmur of the crowd. Emily became startled to see her supervisor standing only a few toes away. Hello, Senora Ansara, Emily replied, her face lighting up with a smile. I was simply taking a few snapshots of this model. I've by no means seen a residence like this before. Sarah chuckled softly, strolling over to her. You were given pretty an eye fixed for element, don't you? Emily shrugged modestly, her cheeks tinged purple. I don't recognize about that. It's stunning. That's all. It's exactly the sort of residence I've constantly dreamed of owning one day. Sarah studied her employee for a second, noting the real awe in Emily's eyes. She had usually in demand Emily's sincerity and work ethic. It wasn't simply the way Emily excelled at her task. However, the manner she carried herself with a quiet confidence, continually willing to put others before herself. Emily wasn't the type to seek recognition or accolades, and that made her stand out. Well, I suppose you deserve something simply as lovely, Sarah stated with a grin. In reality, I've been meaning to speak to you about something. Emily's face lit up with wonder. What is it, Miss Sarah? A touch something about your performance at the agency. Sarah started, her tone turning more critical. You've been doing high-quality work. Emily, your willpower and dedication to the organization haven't long gone ignored. You've earned every bit of success you've had to this point, and that I suppose it's time we apprehend that. Earlier than Emily should reply, Sarah motioned towards the door. How about you come to my office day after today? I'd like to speak about something with you. Emily nodded eagerly. No longer absolutely information what Sarah was getting at, however excited although, improve. Promotion. She couldn't help but believe all the opportunities. Sarah had usually been an extraordinary mentor, and Emily had discovered a lot under her steering. The following day, Emily arrived at Sarah's workplace early, her thoughts humming with anticipation. She sat down, adjusting her skirt nervously. Sarah's office turned into spacious, adorned in a minimalist style with smooth lighting fixtures and a few potted plant life. It became the type of workplace that exuded professionalism without being cold or intimidating. Emily had constantly liked how Sarah had controlled to stability, warmth, and authority, So, Emily, Sarah started out, sitting down throughout from her. I want to speak to you about your destiny with the organization. Emily's coronary heart skipped a beat. Of course, Miss Sarah. I'm all ears. Sarah smiled warmly, leaning back in her chair. As you understand, we've been preserving an eye in your progress. Your painting's ethic, your potential to hook up with customers, and your management capacity have all been mind-blowing. You've been right here for 2 years now, and that I think it's time we provide you a raise. Emily blinked, shocked. A raise. However, I don't realize if I deserve it. Sarah raised an eyebrow. What do you suggest? Don't deserve it, you've earned every penny of it. You're one of the most dedicated employees IVA ever had the pride of running with. Emily shook her head. I'm thankful, Ms. Sarah, I honestly am. However, I suppose the group merits it greater than I do. I've discovered so much from they all, and they've supported me every step of the way. If all and sundry deserves a raise, it's them." Sarah was stunned by Emily's humility. It wasn't tea every day that someone grew to become down a boost for the sake in their colleagues. But it wasn't simply the reality that Emily had grew to become it down. It changed into the cause in the back of it. Sarah ought to see that Emily wasn't interested in personal gain. She wasn't encouraged through money or repute. She became encouraged with the aid of boom, both for herself and the people around her. "You're something else, Emily," Sarah stated, her voice softening. "Your salary is still fairly low, and I realize you've been saving for a better residence for pretty a while now. So, I want you to make more money, due to the fact you deserve it. But extra than that, I need you to succeed. You've worked hard for this." Emily smiled, though her expression turned into a piece unhappy. "I do need to be triumphant, Miss Sarah. However, I didn't come here just to earn cash. I got here to analyze. I want to recognize the enterprise higher, assist my colleagues, and make a real difference. That's what I care approximately most." Sarah felt a lump form in her throat. She was moved via Emily's phrases. It was on tea regularly that someone this young displayed this kind of sturdy feel of cause and humility. Emily wasn't chasing after cloth achievement. She wasn't fixated on getting a bigger paycheck or climbing the corporate ladder. She turned into targeted on the larger photo, and that was something Sarah, reputable, deeply. A few hours later, because the workday wound down, Sarah back to her workplace to find something extraordinary. Emily's smartphone was mendacity on a chair close to her desk. Sarah frowned, questioning if Emily had forgotten it. She hesitated for a second, then picked it up, curious. As she became the phone on, she noticed the wallpaper, the identical yellow villa Emily had taken pictures of at the expo the day earlier. Then she smiled to herself, touched via the simplicity of it. She ought to feel the deep longing in Emily's coronary heart, the quiet dedication to reap something more than herself. Whilst Emily returned to the workplace to retrieve her cell phone, Sarah casually acceded it again to her. "What is your dream domestic, Emily?" she asked, her voice warm. Emily seemed amazed via the question. She paused for a second, then said, "It's a contemporary story villa with a yellow exterior and a stunning lawn. I've usually desired a house like that." Sarah nodded thoughtfully. "It's a cute residence. A wonderful desire." A month later, Emily walked into the office to find something surprising. The yellow villa version she had sought after at the expo turned into now listed at the corporation's top-rate assets website. She couldn't accept as true with her eyes. It became precisely the equal version, the identical yellow exterior, the identical smooth strains, and the equal layout she had fallen in love with. Emily turned into taken aback. She walked across the website, her heart racing as she touched the cool glass of the display home windows. "May want to, it's chitits, that the very component I dreamed of is now a truth." A few minutes later, Sarah approached her with an understanding smile. "Isn't this the house you dreamed of getting?" she requested lightly. "Sure, ma'am," Emily answered, her voice slightly above a whisper. "The equal yellow one. It's precisely what I've constantly wanted." Sarah's eyes widened in surprise. "No manner, that's insane. Do you already know who the consumer is who sold it?" Emily shook her head. "I don't recognize, ma'am. However, with a bit of luck, at some point my tough paintings pays off, and that I'll be able to come up with the money for one." Sarah smiled and walked up to Emily, a glint of something unreadable in her eyes. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a key, protecting it out toward Emily. "This is for you, Emily," she said softly. "You've worked difficult enough. You've put all people else first, never requesting something. You're the kind of individual who merits so much greater than you realize."